So I want to bring to you guys Douglas Murray and his battle versus a South African journalist. And the reason that I want to go through this little debate is because he is by far one of the finest debaters that our world knows. And maybe we can dissect a thing or two from Douglas and apply it in our own lives as well as learning from him. So here we go.
Read some of your comments about our move to, taking Israel to the ICJ, and you said that we did that in order to hide the problems at home. Elaborate.
I think there's a lot in that. I always think that for voters in any country, you have first order priorities. Getting the water clean, getting the roads running, getting infrastructure working, getting healthcare working, getting education working. And I do think that quite often in my observation, I've covered a lot of countries around the world, quite often in my observation, those first order priorities, if a government fails at them, it does distraction techniques. I think the ICJ thing is a distraction technique. I don't think it's something which is of primary importance to the people of South Africa. I don't think it's a first order priority for the voters. And I'm suspicious when governments pull these kinds of international tricks.
Don't you think somebody had to do it?
No, not at all. I mean, there's an awful lot of things going on in the world. I've covered an awful lot of conflicts. I don't think that at all that what's happening in Gaza is genocide. I think it's an unbelievable smear against Israel. I've covered that war, as I've covered many others.
Don't you think it's a self-inflicted smear against?
A self-inflicted smear. Israel had 1,400 people die at the hands of Hamas, murdered, and the Palestinians that were not necessarily Hamas also participated in the second wave of atrocities. I don't really see that as self-inflicted, but let's proceed.
No, I mean, I was in Ukraine last year. Are the Ukrainians committing genocide? I ask you.
What's that got to do with Israel?
I ask you, there are many wars going on.
Yeah.
Is Ukraine committing genocide?
No.
Right.
Is Russia committing genocide?
Russia is committing a war of hostile aggression, for sure. Although it doesn't seem.
Here is the immediate response that I have. Everybody wants to water down the words genocide, Hitler, everything that came out of World War II. They try to throw upon any scenario that they dislike in order to gain public sentiment in the comparison, and then the word gets completely watered down, and that is definitely the case here.
To eradicate the Ukrainian population as a whole, which is, of course, what genocide is.
Which is what Israel seems to be doing with the Palestinians.
Which is not doing.
I know that you worked for Fox News, and I was called by Fox News some time back to talk about the genocide happening in South Africa, and I said, there is no genocide happening in South Africa. So I was surprised that Fox could then see what was happening in South Africa as genocide, and yet what's happening in Israel as...
I don't speak for Fox. But the allegation of genocide against Israel, why would Israel be committing genocide in Gaza?
What would you describe it?
It's a war. It's which I've seen up close.
Okay.
So let me just explain that. If you start a war, which is what Hamas did on the 7th of October, if you start a war, there are repercussions. There are repercussions to Russia for starting a war against Ukraine. Russia's lost a lot of troops. There are repercussions for Hamas for starting a war against Israel.
Do you think there are repercussions for an illegal occupation?
What's the illegal occupation?
She is defending Hamas with that statement that the quote-unquote whatever illegal occupation is what led them to slaughter 1,400 people, including babies, women, rape them, cut off their heads, try to sell the severed head on the market in Palestine because it's a Jewish enemy. This is what precipitated the attack, according to her, despite the fact that Israel gave up the entire Gaza Strip back to Hamas, is completely disingenuous.
Of Israel against the Palestinians.
Where?
That is an illegal occupation.
Where?
It is a determined illegal occupation.
Gaza?
Of course, Gaza and the West Bank.
Have you been to Gaza?
Yes, I have.
Is it occupied by the Israelis?
It's completely sealed off, as you know. That's
By
why
who?
they call it by the Israelis.
And who?
By the Israelis, by the US, and whoever else
And who
supports
else?
the Israelis. Isn't that enough?
No, tell me who else is allegedly sealing the Gaza.
I'm saying that Israel is
What?
is
He's referring to Egypt on the Sinai Peninsula, but these leftists are so wedded to their anti-Israel propaganda that they can't even see the entire picture as it exists on this planet. This is a prime example.
has completely encircled Gaza. Nothing goes in, nothing goes
Gaza
out, as
has.
you know.
Well, as you know, if you've been, Gaza
Pause.
also has a...
Notice that he paused, gave her an opportunity to say, well, no, I haven't been. That really drives the point home for the audience. And it's a very good debate technique because you allow the person to kind of hang themselves. You're giving them the opportunity to interject something new. And then you can hammer them over the head for not even knowing this, despite the fact that she's claimed to have gone to Gaza.
border with Egypt. Why do you not mention Egypt? Egypt has a stronger fence to fence in the people of Gaza.
Okay,
than
so
Israel
you agree
does.
that Gaza has been fenced off?
No, it's fenced off, although you might note that there are more workers until the 7th allowed into Israel to work and indeed to have medical treatments and others that were considered necessary, which Hamas doesn't provide. There was plenty more people every day coming in to work in Israel from Gaza until the 7th than were going the other way into Egypt. So if I go back to this question, why do you say there's an illegal occupation of Gaza? Why did you say that?
Because
Bringing
there
back
is.
the point.
Why? Who is
Israel
occupying
is an
it?
occupying state.
No.
It
Who,
is
hang on.
internationally recognized.
No.
an
It's not.
occupying
It's, no, it's
I'm-
not at
I
all.
want to move
that's
on.
your view. Hang on. That's your view, and I
Okay,
have to
again,
correct
our
your
view-
view.
our views
I have
differ.
to correct. No, it doesn't. The facts. Our views might differ, but the facts are the facts, and I want to pick you up on something you just did.
I mean,
She is feelings oriented. Facts don't care about your feelings. Facts are facts. And there is a truth to this planet, and it revolves around physics. If you want to violate the laws of physics, your life is going to be very short if you jump off the entire Empire State Building thinking that you can fly without a jetpack. There is a truth to this planet, to this universe. And leftists want the truth to match their feelings.
interviewing you.
I know, but
Yes.
I think you're uninformed.
No.
So let me just.
hardly.
So let me. You
That's
are
a polite way
uninformed
to put it.
because
really?
first of all,
Yes.
you didn't say that Egypt is blockading Gaza. Secondly, you claim that
I'm
Israel.
I'm
hang on,
talking
so
about
let me
Israel
finish
here,
the
and
point.
I want to
well,
move.
It's
I want
very
to move on
convenient
from
for
this.
you to mention Israel
Oh.
because you've clearly got an animus here. But let me come on to the second point. Let me come to the second point.
Yes, caught.
As you well
Caught.
know, in 2005. Israeli troops ripped Jewish families from their home in the Gaza.
That was
Hang on,
after
hang on, hang
Palestinians
on.
had been ripped from their homes
Well,
in
I mean,
Gaza.
how far back do you want to go?
Okay,
You can do the
no.
Hebron massacre of 1924
No,
if you want.
absolutely.
But let me
Let's-
just
but
let me
let's get to
finish.
what I
let-
want to say. No,
allow
what I
me
want
to
to
finish
talk
one
about.
point.
What I
know,
want to talk
but allow
about
me
is
to finish
we're
a
talking
point.
about the action at the
Of course she
international
wants.
court.
Of course, when somebody has you dead to rights and making you look foolish, you're going to do everything that you can to change the topic if you're a dishonest participant in the debate, which she is.
No.
Okay?
But first of
And
all,
we're
before
talking
we got
about
onto that, you've got to
South
inform your
Africa's
viewers.
actions there.
Yes, but we've got to inform your viewers of the facts, and you just misled them. In 2005, Israeli troops ripped every Jewish family from their homes in Gaza and handed over all of Gaza, which was completely clear of Jews.
That was after two Nakbas, I think in 19...
So who then is occupying Gaza, as she claims, in this moment? Or previously since 2005? Nobody, but this is the mental frame that she has in her mind that she wants you to imbibe. There is no occupation of Gaza.
48 and 1967, when Palestinians were ripped from their homes that were originally there.
That's your
I know, so let's
specific interpretation of the history, and yours is a very no. But we can agree to disagree, but don't misinform your viewers. And
Likewise.
you can go back. Well, I'm not misinforming your viewers. I'm informing them because you're not. The point that I'm trying to make, which
Israel
you keep
moved away
on,
from Gaza, and Gaza has been sealed off ever since.
You keep on trying to distract everyone from is that Israel took every Jew from Gaza in 2005, handed it over to the Palestinians, who then voted in Hamas, and to the great detriment of the Palestinian people. They have been ruled by Hamas for the last 18 years. If you want to look to the source of the conflict, look to that fact.
Okay, so how many illegal settlements are there in the West Bank that's also illegal under the United Nations, under international law? Those settlements on the West Bank are illegal.
Which ones are illegal in your view?
In the Middle East, and every time there would be a peace agreement, settlements would pop up, and that's why we are where we are today.
No, it's not.
So let's try and move on.
No,
let's try and
it's
move on.
not at all why we are where we are.
Hang on. We're not achieving anything here, so let's try and move on.
No.
Let's try and move on.
No, it's very, because you just did it again. You just threw in another false fact. We are not where we are today because of settlements in the West Bank that are disputed. That's not why Hamas broke out of Gaza on the 7th of October and massacred people in their homes.
As
that's
we know,
that's
Hamas
not
got
because
Israeli
of the West Bank, and you well know it. You well know that.
Why does she constantly interrupt him? He allows her to speak. He, as I mentioned earlier, pauses to allow her to interject with a different fact. Maybe she hadn't been to Gaza, as she claimed. There is a huge difference in debating styles here. And as an audience member, when you see somebody behaving as Jane Dutton does on a frequent basis during their discourse, it is very easy to side with Douglas Murray, which shows the importance of keeping your cool and very effectively stating your point of view, which he is doing.
Well, know that Hamas, you well know that Hamas did not commit the massacre of the 7th of October because of settlements. They did it by their own admission because they want to massacre every Jew they can get their hands on, and Hamas has said they will do it again and again. So don't get onto the distraction of settlements. That is a second-order priority. The first order...
It's easy to fob those off, isn't it?
It's easy for you to try to distract people about it. But I'm saying don't distract them from the crimes of Hamas. Don't do that.
I'm not distracting.
Well, you are. You just said that's why they did it. You said they did it because of the settlements.
And those crimes by Hamas were repugnant.
I'm glad you said that, finally.
Finally. But what I'm saying...
He's been here for some time with you going on about settlements and everything else.
So we've got an illegal occupying force. We've got a situation that is making...
Hamas
has grown in popularity ever since this war on Gaza because
because of journalists such as yourself that propagate the narrative that Gaza is occupied by Israel. And the reason for the attacks, defending the attacks first by describing the illegal settlements, the contentious settlements, and not diving into the brutality and mass murder committed by a terrorist organization.
Israel is making people more and more increasingly militant. So what is happening at the moment
Israel's making people more militant.
Is not working.
Do you think that Hamas is making people more militant or not?
Let's go back to the ICJ.
Do you think that Hamas is making people more militant or not?
Well,
you see, he repeats the question. He forces her to address it. Most people, like her, just want to speak over you, and he forces her by calmly repeating the question. Debate tactic from Douglas Murray that I hope you guys take.
It's a catch-22,
isn't
it?
I see.
And until this illegal occupation is broken, until the suffering of the Palestinians is acknowledged...
Do you think that Hamas are interested in a solution where there's any Jew in that region or not?
I'm asking you the questions and I want to
I'd
move
love you
on
to answer that one.
No, we can answer it. Let's just move on.
Have a go then.
Okay. So
Have a go.
ICJ,
Do you think Hamas want a peaceful solution with the
I'm asking you the
Jews?
questions. We can discuss this afterwards.
Oh, no, I'd love to do this one on air. Do you think Hamas want to live beside the Jews, yes or no?
They have recently said that they would be happy to live next to Jews, but they want a two-state solution. A two-state solution.
After they slaughtered 1,400 people and their leader went out and said that his dream is to do it again and again and again. And now suddenly you want to believe Hamas that they want to live peacefully next to Jews, even though it was in their charter originally to destroy the Jewish state and kill all Jews. Make Adolf Hitler proud.
Has been in the offing.
Hamas has not said they want a two-state solution. They carried out a massacre on October the 7th of as many people as they could, stole a lot of hostages who you still also haven't referred to. There's more than 100 Jewish hostages still in Gaza.
Correct.
That's real kidnapping, and that's real occupation of somebody. And Hamas has said they do it again and again.
How do you feel when you see those children who've been shot in the back of the head? How do you feel when you see those children?
The Jewish
who are
children or the
suffering,
Palestinian children?
The Palestinian children.
I feel the same on each of them.
Okay.
I think it's all a tragedy.
Okay, good.
And I think
It is
it's
a
all on
tragedy on both
Hamas.
sides.
I think
So
it's
let's
all
try
on
and move
Hamas.
on.
They shouldn't have started a war.
Let's try.
There's consequences to starting a war.
Yes, there are consequences. All right. So the IC.
So that means that according to her, if I'm the right religion, I can go up, hit my neighbor in the back of the head with a 2x4, and any repercussion that comes my way, woe is me. At this point, they stopped talking about Israel, Palestine, and then they meandered off. But the points to take home, Douglas Murray stays on his question. He drives the point home. So many times when we're talking to somebody in a debate and it gets a little heated, they try to shift the debate, to deflect and move the topic of conversation to another destination. And you saw several times that Douglas kept asking calmly, but with some force and great effect to the audience. And he clearly knows way more than Jane Dutton does about what's going on in Israel and Palestine, considering the fact that he was there with Israeli forces, seeing it up close, and it is not a genocide. This is, once again, the framing that the left wants to provide around Israel, that they're Adolf Hitler, that they're doing the same thing when they go out of their way to avoid civilian casualties, if for no other reason because it's going to be bad for them and their public image. And people believe the things that are coming out of Hamas. Douglas Murray, excellent debater. I hope that you guys can emulate him and that you got something out of it. Thumb up the video, subscribe, and share the video.